correctly. There she is.
There we go.
Yay!
Okay. I didn't want to join from my computer, but I got it to join from my
phone.
phone.
You're going to have to put your microphone up.
Let's see. Well.
So talk to me again and let me see if I hear you.
Can you hear me now?
You're really light. Can you turn your microphone up?
I had to join from my phone. It won't let me join from my computer.
But is your phone up on the highest one possible? Okay. Well, we'll just make do. We'll make do. You'll talk really loud. and so I'm sorry, everyone. This technology.
I'm going to grab headphones.
Oh, well, that might work.
Try that.
We'll
I just have to go get them.
Maybe that'll work. I'll tell you, writing a book is easy. Doing a live video on Facebook, not so much.
Okay.
And now we're getting a tour of Savannah's house.
Very messy. Okay. Let's try. Okay.
Well, one thing could be said for authors. We're flexible. I'm just glad you guys all are too.
Can you hear any better now?
Oh, not by much.
Oh.
But I think that if we're really careful and you talk really loud.
Okay, I can try.
Okay. First of all, you guys that are on here, Doris and Cynthia, would you guys mind just putting a quick comment and telling us if you can hear her okay? So, let me see what we can do here. Well, I'm going to go ahead and introduce her. Savannah Carlisle is a new author to me, but she works with a bunch of my friends. And many of you guys know Nancy Nagel. She's been here on She's Reading before. And there is a new publishing company in town. They started, I don't even know how long, I guess Savannah can tell us, but there's a lot of editors and a lot of authors that are friends of mine. And so I was so tickled because when Savannah's assistant reached out to me last week and said, hey, would you be willing to have Savannah on as a guest? I said, you bet, absolutely. And so tonight we're going to talk about her debut novel. And I just celebrated my 12th year anniversary. But I clearly remember what the debut novel was like. It was magical. It was so fun. And I'll tell you, readers are finding her and loving her because this is what they say. First of all, this is what she's known for. She writes heartwarming romantic novels with idyllic beach settings and fun, quirky small towns, just the kind of thing that we all love. And her readers are saying this, and I quote, "The author's vivid descriptions put me right in Heron Isle." And another one said, "I was completely enchanted with her brand new book." Another one says, "Perfect beach read." Another one, "A story that will keep you flying through the pages." And then my very favorite, because this is also my heart, one of her reviewers said, "Romance novels aren't really my fan, but I adored the Library of Second Chances." So I'm so excited you're here. Welcome, even though we're having some technical issues.
I know. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome. Tell us just a little bit about you, where you live, and a little bit about your, what brought you here to this place where you've just brought out your debut novel. We want to hear it.
Yeah, so the book is set on a fictional island called Heron Isle, but it really is very much based on the island where I live, which is Amelia Island in Florida. For those of you who are not familiar, it's right outside of Jacksonville, right kind of on the Georgia-Florida line on the Atlantic side. And I grew up vacationing here every summer my whole life and was lucky enough to get to move here about 12 years ago for my husband's job. And it's just the most inspiring place. I always knew I wanted to write books set here, but I actually spent a lot of years writing nonfiction sports books because my day job, I'm a sports business reporter, and it took me a while before I finally had time to write a novel. And now I'm doing both. Actually, next year I have a novel coming out and a nonfiction sports book coming out within a couple of months of each other.
Wow, busy girl, busy girl. So tell us about the Library of Second Chances, because I started to read it over the weekend, and I have to tell you that I fell in love with Lucy Sullivan. She was just a sweetie.
Oh.
How do you come up with your characters, and why these two particular characters?
Yeah, normally I come up with the characters first, or at least one of them, and sort of know where I want to go with that character. But I actually came up with the Little Free Library in this story first because I spent a lot of time during the pandemic visiting Little Free Libraries. And I wrote this book like December of 2020 and January of 2021. It just took a while to edit it and find a publishing home. But I started with the Little Free Library, and then I started thinking about the types of people in this small town who might come use the Little Free Library. And Lucy was sort of born first in my mind because she owned the local bookstore, and she had grown up with this love of books and this belief that everyone should have access to books. And the town's library has been forced to close because of budget shortfalls. And so she actually championed putting this Little Free Library in town for people who couldn't afford to come to her bookstore and buy books. And so Lucy was sort of born first. And then I started thinking, okay, and who's Lucy's opposite? And, I watch a lot of Hallmark movies. I love the like big city, person versus small town person kind of trope. And so I started thinking about this big city guy who wants to come in and change her town. And I'm a big fan of You've Got Mail. And so I started thinking, well, what if it was like that? What if they're fighting about something in real life and they really don't like each other, but they start falling in love by leaving these books and these notes inside books to each other? And so it just kind of came together from there.
I love enemies to lovers kind of tropes anyway, but that's a really sweet storyline. For those who don't know, and I don't know if anyone doesn't know, but just in case, tell everyone what those free libraries are all about.
Yes. So usually they're like a small sort of box that has a couple of shelves to fit books in, and people will put them at the front of their property, maybe near their mailbox, near a sidewalk, something like that. And folks will leave books in there that they've already read that they're willing to share with others. And I have one right down the street from my house I go to all the time. And I usually take one or two books of my own that I'm ready to give to somebody else. And then I look for something exciting that I haven't read before. And, I got to thinking as I was doing that during the pandemic, and I would go to several that were within walking distance of my house, I would often open it and I wouldn't have heard of any of the books that were in there. I wouldn't know any of the authors or any of the books. And that doesn't mean anything good or bad. It's just there's so many great books out there. You can't possibly know about them all. And I got to thinking, wouldn't it be nice if somebody would leave like an index card or something in here and tell me why I would like this book? I mean, I can read the back cover copy, but I'd love for somebody to tell me why I would love it. And that sort of gave me the idea that in this Little Free Library that Lucy would decide to leave index cards and some little pencils, and people would write why you would enjoy the book. And they would sign it with a moniker, sort of a la Sleepless in Seattle. And that it would become this fun game because it's a small town where people would try to guess, who was using these different monikers. And this is not giving anything away, but like the guy that owns the hardware store, it turns out he loves romance novels, but he doesn't want anybody to know, so he's putting these romance novels in there, and he's got this, pin name he's using so that nobody knows the hardware store guy is a romance fan. And so my two characters are using the monikers Island Girl and Gatsby's Ghost, and they start out by trading books about F. Scott and Zelda Fitzgerald. I personally had just read a book about Zelda Fitzgerald and was kind of obsessed with her at the time. And so they start trading books about that. And then their connection sort of grows based on these books they're leaving each other, and it gets more personal, and they start trying to solve each other's problems, and the relationship really grows. But in the meantime, they're fighting each other in real life and have no real use for each other.
Oh, That just sounds like my kind of, I mean, You've Got Mail has to be one of my favorite movies ever. And
Me
while the
too.
storyline doesn't really mirror that exactly, I mean, I can really see the similarities. So any of you who love that movie, sounds like you better be picking this one up. Again, it's called The Library of Second Chances.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I got a phone call.
that's good.
Where can they find Library of Second Chances?
It is available on all the major retailers, Amazon and Barnes and Noble and sort of all the rest. And I was looking, I was thinking I had a copy back here on my desk somewhere. So I ended
Hey,
up,
by the way, your voice just got loud.
oh, well, I don't know why, but that's great news. But we actually, in the book, when I originally wrote it, the Little Free Library was sort of the typical Little Free Library you see, like the little box on a post. And then the cover designer came back and she had found this library and wanted to do the cover like this and have it be like a little one room sort of 10 by 10 kind of library. So I actually had to rewrite parts of the book where the Little Free Library box was described. So it would be a walk-in little room instead of just this tiny box. And I talked about how the Little Free Library got so popular in town, they had to move from the little box to a bigger structure.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Well, let me go through some of my questions. What do you find is the most challenging thing for you now that you've stepped on this writer's journey?
Oh, that I have so many ideas and I don't have enough time to write them all. I have a note on my phone that is all these book ideas and I want to write all of them. And maybe I will one day, but the ideas come faster than I can write them.
Oh, that is a challenge. That is a challenge. And what would you say the core theme is of the books that you love to read?
Oh, um, I think I gravitate towards books where people are given a second chance, and whether that's giving your high school love a second chance or, it's giving your career a second chance. This idea, and I kind of related, but this idea of reinvention. Look, I started my career as a corporate attorney, and then I was a sports business journalist, and now I write romance novels. So I'm all about reinventing yourself and finding, just chasing the things that you love. And I love seeing characters do that.
You know what tickles me is how many guests I have on here, and I have a legal background too. So, but how many that were in the legal field have hopped over and started writing novels? I don't know what that says. But,
probably nothing good about the legal field. No.
Although I like to say that I really did become a student of character. And in the trials and courtrooms, there's high drama, and watching people it fed my soul. And I pull all that information out. And so that's probably true of you as well.
Well, I actually was a historic preservation attorney, so I've used that a lot, and I used it a lot in this book because the town has all these historic elements. And actually, my book coming out next May centers around a historic home that's being renovated. And in fact, my publisher, after I sent some more book ideas, was like, okay, every book can't be about historic preservation. I'm like, but can't it? Because I've got more ideas like that, because that's what I did as a lawyer.
Oh, that's wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about your writing process. How do you go about actually creating a character? Because I didn't get very far into your book, but I could tell that you have a real talent for creating a character that is multidimensional, someone it would be just like I met. I mean, Lucy became immediately somebody that I knew I could be friends with. How do you do that?
Yeah, and it's funny because people always say like the first book you write is autobiographical. So I've had people ask me, am I like Lucy? I'm actually nothing like Lucy. So I think maybe like a book I wrote that never will get published that's in a drawer somewhere was the one that was autobiographical. So she's really not like me. But I started from like, what's her mistaken belief about the world? There was a writing class I took somewhere along the lines that talked about every character has some sort of flawed view of the world or mistaken belief about the world or about themselves. And so I really started from, well, what's Lucy's? And hers is that she's never good enough for anybody, that everybody leaves her. This is not giving away anything, but her, at the very beginning of the book, you learn that her mother left her as a child and she grew up with just her father. And that also more recently, her fiance has left her for a job in a bigger city. And so she has some abandonment issues, but also just some real self-confidence issues. And then I wanted to have Logan be her opposite. I wanted him to have too much confidence, because I needed him to show her how to believe in herself. And so I had her pretty fully formed before I came up with him. And if anybody watches Hallmark, Logan started as he was sort of born from the developer that Brennan Elliott played on, what was that called? Cedar something.
Cedar
I keep thinking
Cove.
Chesapeake Shores, Cedar Cove. Okay. So I loved Brennan Elliott's developer character there, except he had very few redeeming qualities. So I sort of started with him and then made him more likable and gave him some redeeming qualities. And I wanted to sort of turn that big city guy, small town girl trope on its head. And again, this is not giving away anything you wouldn't learn at the very beginning of the book, but Logan is from a small town. He has been living in big cities, but he grew up in a small town, and his reasons for wanting to develop and create something new on Heron Isle aren't because he's greedy, or because he's being selfish. It's because of something he saw in his own small town that he doesn't want to ever see another small town make the same mistake. And so it was really, I love Hallmark movies, but I didn't want it to just be that typical like big city, small town kind of trope you get a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, sounds like, I can't wait to read the rest of it, because it just sounds like this kind of story that just, it's one of those escape books. And right now things are heating up on politics, and there's all kinds of things going on in our world that escapism is really critical for us right now. Yeah. So it sounds like the perfect book to do that. So, which of your characters do your readers love to hate?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if anyone got a ton of hate in this book. I mean, Logan's probably closest to being unlike, well, I take that back. You know what? Now that I'm talking about it, there is a councilman who does not have good intentions, who becomes important in the book. And he's definitely, not only do people not, he is legit a villain, and he's very much based on someone I've come across in real life.
Yeah. That's fun when you can take somebody like that and put it in a book and magnify it and make it even more. So all of you who are going to be ordering this book tonight, you guys need to be watching for the councilman, who is the person that you'll love to hate. Are you a pantser or a plotter? And for those of you who are new here and maybe don't know, a pantser is somebody who kind of is a discovery writer who writes by the seat of their pants. And a plotter is someone who carefully plans it before they write. Which are you?
I am a plotter. I am a type A perfectionist, and I like to plan things out and have lots of lists and whatever. And the more books I've now written, the more detailed my plotting has become. So I actually sit and write a full 2 to 3 page synopsis before I start writing the book. I want to know kind of big picture where it's going and who these people are, what their individual problems are, what their sort of problems in coming together are, the internal and the external sort of factors that are coming into play. And then I can sit down and write it. So that also helps me. I told you I have all these ideas. When I get an idea and I cannot get it to leave my head, I will give myself the space to sit down and try to write the synopsis. And I have found that if I just do that and then I save that file, then I can go back to my work in progress, because I know that it's there and it'll be ready for me when I come back to it. So I have probably 5 synopses somewhere in a file on my computer right now for future books. And it's just a matter of which one of them will come next.
I'm fascinated by you plotters. I have lots of friends who are plotters, and I've been part of plotting groups, but for me, I have to know the bones, the boundaries, but they're very loose fences that could easily be knocked down. And if I know the story before I start, I'm bored and I can't write it. And so for me, I sit down to write and the story unfolds as I'm writing. But isn't it funny? We both end up at the same place. It's just a very different approach. And, you know, it seems authors are one or the other always.
Well, I often have to go back and revise the synopsis later. So I'll think I know where it's going to go. And then you get in a scene and they just say something or do something you're not expecting. And it's like, wait, that didn't fit what I was planning. And so I do give myself the flexibility to go back and change the synopsis. So I'll write the whole book, and then I will go back and rewrite or tweak the synopsis to match how the book actually turned out. But I need that roadmap. I cannot just, if I just sit down, it's like, okay, what comes next? And I get stuck, especially in the middle. You know, people talk about the messy middle. When I didn't fully plot out like that, I got so stuck in the middle of my drafts. And then, you know, I'd write like 35,000 words, and then I would just shelve it and move on to something else.
You know, it's so funny because one of the things that writers do is we strive to get that movie to play in our head. And what you just described is when the movie starts playing and the characters really do kind of take off on their own. And it's just glorious when you're a writer and that happens.
It is.
I don't know about you, but usually when the movie starts playing, that's just about the time my husband will knock on my office door.
Yes, me too. And my husband's a writer too. My husband's a writer too, and so we both work from home full time, and we both get in those zones. So we're pretty good about like listening for the other one to see. We live in a townhouse and it's 3 stories, and we work on different floors, and I'll like listen to hear if I hear his footsteps, and then I know he's taking a break from writing and I can go downstairs and talk to him.
Perfect. My husband just retired and we're in that phase where we're adjusting.
Yeah, it is an adjustment.
So what do you do for fun when you're not writing?
Oh, you and I were talking, I think, before we went live about Colorado. So I live in Florida and I live at the beach, and I feel so lucky to live at the beach. I love it here, but I also really love the mountains, and I need that in my life. So I go out to Breckenridge, Colorado 4, 5, 6 times a year, however often I can get away with, because I love hiking in the summer, spring, summer, fall, and I love downhill skiing in the winter. And those are not things I can do really in Florida. There's no hiking here and it's too hot, and there's definitely no downhill skiing. So I love going to Colorado.
Idaho, and that's a big ski town.
Yes.
So, yeah, absolutely.
And I didn't even learn how to ski till I was 22. I grew up in Atlanta. I did not grow up in a family that skied. So I'm 42 now. So now I've been skiing for 20 years, but I got a late start.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad you know, one of the things that authors sometimes forget to do is we get really busy because we're not only writing, but we're marketing. And for some of us, we own our own publishing companies. And so there's just a whole myriad of things that have to be done. And if you're not careful, your life can get out of balance quick. But I've really been making a concerted effort to have some fun lately. And Colorado is a great place. A lot of people that know me know I spent the summer in Colorado. So we've been on here about a half an hour. So I want to take a minute. I want you to let everyone know where they can find you. I'd like you to tell them where your website is. And I'm assuming that on your website, you might have a place to sign up for your newsletter and to follow you on all the social media. So tell us what your website is.
I do. So it's savannahcarlisle.com. And I know there's a couple of ways people spell Carlisle. So mine is Carlisle. So it's just like Heron Isle. I'm Savannah Carlisle with the isle at the end. I was just thinking I should get my logo redone and do something with that isle and make it look like an island. But I am on all the social media channels, all the major ones, as Savvy Carlisle, because Savannah Carlisle didn't fit on some of them and I wanted them all to match. So 2 V's, it's all Savvy Carlisle on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the stuff.
And for those of you who have never read her, I can't urge you enough to try Savannah's new book. First of all, it's a debut, so you're getting in right at the start of her career. I can already tell that this is going to be a lengthy career, partly because I know the editors who are at Harpeth Road, and I know that they only take the cream of the crop. And so if somebody's with Harpeth Road, that says a lot. So you girls that are out there that have not yet tried one of Savannah's books, you guys go grab one, because you're going to want to know Savannah Carlisle. But one lucky reader is going to get a copy tonight. Isn't that right?
Yes. Yes, I love giving my book away. I stick it in little free libraries all the time, and I have a box in my office that's just for little free libraries and giveaways. So I would love to give one away to one of your group members here.
Great. Well, what we normally do is if you comment at all on this post, we will randomly select a winner. Savannah will do that. She will randomly select a winner, and then she's going to go in and she's going to post in the morning who won. And then right after this broadcast, she's going to go on, and all of your comments and questions that you have for her, she'll answer them. And she'll interact with you. So this is your time to get to know Savannah and ask the questions that I didn't ask. Okay? So some of you have been here a lot. You know the drill. That's how you do it. And I want to just thank Savannah so much for coming on tonight. It's been a while. We took the summer off on She's Reading, but we're going to be doing a lot more live author chats. And I was tickled to start the fall season with Savannah Carlisle. So thank you for being here, and thank you for being patient with the technical issues.
I'm so glad we got it working. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. All right, everyone, put your comments, because Savannah's going to hop over there in just a minute and start talking with you, and then she'll announce the winner in the morning. And good luck. Good luck. All right. Take care, everyone. Good night.